The Prestwick Group. This presentation is by Stephen C. Selke and myself, Brandon Banazinski. For the purpose of this project, I am going to speak. Again, this is Brandon Banazinski. I am going to speak just so there's not a difference in voices and you guys kind of get confused as to who's speaking, and terminology and such things like that will stay very similar. So let's jump into it. Project management. The project that we decided on as a group was the road to implementing a 30, 60, 90 day onboarding training plan for the Prestwick Group. This is actually something that Stefan, he goes by Chase, that Chase is currently working on at his employer, the Prestwick Group. As stated in the rubric that you've all seen, the presentation will cover the following: the scope of the project, the project plan, the communication plan, risk management plan, implementation plan, and closing the project plan. As stated previously, the first thing we will go into is the scope of the project. From this slide, as you can see, we're going to discuss a little bit more about the scope. The 30, 60, 90 day plan really lays out kind of a clear path that you're supposed to follow for your first 30, 60, and 90 days at your new employer. This allows you to set concrete goals and visions at each stage that are both trackable and things that you can progress on towards the end of each stage, which will allow for a smooth and empowering transition into your new role with your new employer. The little image we have here kind of shows us that within the first 30 days, you're supposed to kind of understand the process, procedures, the people, kind of just get a full understanding of the company and your role within the company as a whole. For the next 30 days, which would then be your 60 days, you are to evaluate your current process, assess the processes within others and other groups and team members, and then really just evaluate the changes that may or may not need to be made to help you and the team members work more efficiently. The next 30 days, which would be your last 30 days and equals the 90, is there to optimize your role, optimize everything that you've learned, bring it all together, and put a plan into action. Really figure out what worked, what didn't work, and come up with plans and ideas to make everything run as smooth as possible. All right, so now that we've kind of given you a little bit more about the scope of the project and what the 30, 60, 90 day plan really entails and what it's supposed to bring to the table, now it's time to plan out the project, kind of give you an overview of how the project works. So Chase was actually so kind as to show us and give us a kind of a snapshot of the 30, 60, 90 day plan and how it relates to different areas of the company. We have shipping, fabrication, detailing, CNC, assembly. Each different area has its own 30, 60, 90 day program. Here it's kind of all laid out for evaluations and kind of check-off lists as you go along for what each week entails. So you start with create a timeline for the project, and towards the end you're beginning training the current staff and everything else to follow in between. So as you can see, each component of the company has its own 30, 60, 90 day plan to follow. Here is another snapshot that Chase was able to provide us with. So as you can see on the left, the first step to his 30, 60, 90 day plan at his company, the Prestwick Group, is to create a timeline for the project. So from there, he then moves on to a kind of another screen, and from there he enters in the timeline for the project, and he notes anything that he may need to enter. As you can see on the right, gives you options to add members, create labels, due dates, and attachments. I'm sure they're going to have plenty of paperwork and things that they need to read up on prior to starting the program. Those would all be entered there. After creating a timeline for the project, they move on to the next step, which would be complete department evaluation spreadsheet. Again, on the right hand side, you then move to another screen where you would enter in checklists. He has a due date entered. You could add a description if you needed to. And as you move forward, you create more on your checklist and check them off as you go along. Again, we're just moving down the line. So now we're breaking down the 30, 60, 90 day program into weeks. And over from there, Chase then moves over to the right hand side, new screen, where he's adding more things to his checklist that he needs to check off as he moves forward. Obviously, starting at the top, he created a timeline, and now he's working towards breaking this down into weeks. He breaks down the first 30 days, this next 30 days, and the last 30 days. Writes a rough draft, and then he reviews the employees' expectations within the team and with his supervisors. Yet here we are again, just kind of moving down. This is just Chase has just been kind enough to show us how this system works and what he has to do from a day-to-day basis, or I should say more of a week-to-week basis now. So now we have moved from breaking down the 30, 60, 90 into weeks, where he created a checklist. Once all that's crossed off, he moves on to the next one. Now we are working on writing a detailed manual for the trainer, the person who's going to be training these people after their last 90 days. This person needs a checklist. So on the right, under his own checklist, he has made review manual with Steve, review manual with area leads, and give to team for review. So these are all little steps that he takes to make sure that he is getting things done and that the program is running smoothly. All right, so we're just going to keep moving right along the line. Again, on the left side, the next step is to review the finished program with the group. Some of you might ask, well, why would we review the program if it's finished with the group? Well, simple. You really want to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that everybody understands their expectations and they understand their expectations of you. It's just to make things move along very smoothly, so then you know what's to come at the end of 30 days, what's to come at the end of 60 days, and what's to come at the end of 90 days. This will make it very easy for you to see what's coming ahead and make it very easy for you to track where you stand within that program, because if you're not up to expectations at 30 days or 60 days or even 90 days, you're falling behind, and you need to do some extra work to get caught up and really understand wherever you're not understanding. All right. So after you've finished reviewing the program with a group, next, as you can see on the left, is letting HR review the program. At this point, it's really out of your hands, and HR will take over. If they have any issues, any problems that they can foresee, they will let you know. Probably expect you to fix it, take care of it, let them review it once more. All complete. So once HR has reviewed the program, you've reviewed the program with the group, you've written a detailed manual for the trainer, broken down the 30, 60, 90 into weeks, and you've complete department evaluation spreadsheet, and you've created a timeline for the project, which all bundles up into its big 30, 60, 90 program. Once HR signs off, you're done. You can start using this new program to train new staff members in every department. As stated before, each department has its own 30, 60, 90 program. All relates back to what you just created. Everything is great. So, everything is great. You have just started implementing your project with new staff members. What's next? On the left, you have it, you can see it here, 15-day program follow-up. So, after 15 days, you follow up, see how everything is going, talk to some employees, talk to the trainers, make sure everything is going well. If there's any hiccups, talk about it, fix it for the next, the next staff to come in, and go from there. You guessed it. After 15 days, you have a 30-day follow-up as seen on the left. Same thing, you will have a new set of trainers to begin training each team member. After the first 30 days, you'll want to follow up with the original trainers, make sure there was no problems, that everything went smoothly once again, and now you'll want to talk to the new trainers and make sure that they don't have any questions or concerns, and just make sure that they understand the expectations of them as well as the expectations of the new staff. All right, so a little time has passed. We went about 30 days this time. Now we're having a new follow-up. This is going to be the 60-day program follow-up. At this time, you're to review any documents related to the 30, 60, 90 program and make any changes or revisions that need to be made based off of the feedback that you got from the team members and the new staff who just went through part of this program. All right, and finally, the last step to the program really involves just a full-on program review. This is to make any changes anywhere in the program, uh, decide with all the trainers and the managers, everybody who's a part of this process. They all will get together, talk about it, talk about the feedback that they received from the new staff and what they noticed or didn't notice during the program, and they will make those changes. This is something that can be done for this program, any program. It should be the final step after a project or program has been completed. You really want to go over that first run through, find any hiccups, make any changes, and improve for the better, improve for your company, and improve for your new employees in this scenario, so that they can better be trained and learn what they need to know to be effective and efficient at their new job. So the next step to the project and next step that we're going to talk about is the communication plan. This is when managers will meet and communicate accordingly based on the following plan guidelines, and really utilize this board that we have in front of us to go over any steps. So this board is just a bigger breakdown of what you saw on what would have been the left side of the screen in previous slides, has now been pushed over to the right side of the screen. This is where managers will communicate, let each other know what they think about each program or each step, and just communicate effectively between each other and make sure that they don't have any questions or concerns, anything that they want to just get cleared up. The next step or process that we are going to talk about is the risk management plan. So part of the risk management plan is the turnover and retention rates. Really need to examine the turnover and retention rates for different graduating classes. Really how you're going to do this is you're going to want to track their performance and track the employment rates of people who graduated in different years, based off of, was this at the beginning of their 30, 60, 90 program, or was this at the end of the 30, 60, 90 program that's been more recent? Which employees have stayed and which employees have kind of retained the most information? The same thing goes with retention threshold. You really want to make sure and find out at which point in the employee or in the company's 30, 60, 90-day program did they lose the most employees? At which time did employees tend to leave? Did they make it the longest when the program had been implemented for its longest period of time? Or did employees leave when the program just started, and how many employees left? And those are all things you're going to want to look at as a part of the retention threshold. Depending on when the employees left and how many employees stayed and at what point were you with the 30, 60, 90 program, you really want to conduct an in-depth exit and interview with these employees. Find out what they didn't like. Find out what they did like. Find out what works, what didn't work. All those things that you might not be able to figure out without talking to those employees. You really want to sit down and have a productive meeting with them and see why this program isn't working or why it just wasn't working for them. These are all things that will help moving forward. And then the performance measures. You definitely want to compare the performance of a group who was given 1 week of onboarding experience as opposed to someone who was given multiple weeks of onboarding experience. These all can play a role in the retention that these people had over the program, and it also can tell you exactly what needs to change moving forward. Another aspect of the risk management plan is informal feedback. This is more so seen in smaller organizations and smaller companies, but it doesn't hurt to have this implemented in larger companies or organizations as well. Really, what you're going to want to do here is at the bottom you can see a list of questions that you might want to ask the new hires once they've gone through the onboarding 30, 60, 90-day program, and find out what wasn't covered, what was covered, what did they like, what information do they need to know to be able to do their job. These are all going to be things that HR is going to want to find out and then give you feedback so that your program can continue to grow and expand moving forward. The next step of the 30, 60, 90 plan that we will be talking about is the implementation plan. Really, this is what is a 30, 60, 90-day new hire plan? Well, the 30, 60, 90-day plan is a transparent roadmap for the new hires. This really lays out what they're going to be expecting for the next 90 days and what their goals are to be able to do and reach at the end of each time frame, the 30, the 60, and the 90 days. The plan is meant to have specific goals, dates, and information such as who you should work with to get what job done, what title this person may have rather than their name, but who you can go ask these questions that you may have to that will help you with these certain tasks. This will allow for a smoother transition to using the company's tools, understanding the company processes, and understanding their expectations of you as a new hire at each segment, each 30 days, which would be 30, 60, and then 90. Breaking down a new hire's learning process into 30-day increments really allows them and the trainers to focus on certain skills and aspects of the job that they need to know at a first come basis. So the first 30 days are always going to be the most intensive. You have to work with company culture, getting to know your coworkers, understanding the company and the tools you might have to use. These are all things that you're going to have to worry about at your first 30 days. Once you get past those first 30 days, and as the days progress, the whole process just becomes way more fluid for you. You start to understand your role. You start to understand where you fit in. You start to understand the people you're working with, the tools you're using. Everything just becomes much easier for the new employee's role. So, creating a new hire 30, 60, 90-day plan. Um, Kind of a behind the scenes look at this plan is really that onboarding goes beyond the first day. Your onboarding goes throughout your whole time within the company. Officially, it starts the first day, but from week 1 to the end of this, you're learning the whole time. As well as after the 90 days are up, you are going to continue to learn throughout your career with that company. There's never going to be a day that you're really just not learning something new. I would say at least for the first 6 months at very minimum. For that point, you should be learning something new each day. You should be talking to somebody and getting a better grasp of the company and gaining knowledge on your position. Um, the basics of the company and for your position are set up for you to learn within the 90 days so that you can effectively and efficiently do your job. But that doesn't mean that your job stops there. It means that you have to continue to learn, continue to want to learn. The 30, 60, 90-day plan really just is a map for you moving forward so that you can do your job. Again, your job does not stop there. The implementation plan of the first 30 days. The first 30 days really is about learning between the differences of everything, where everything is kept, where everybody's office is, what your responsibilities are, what the other responsibilities of the other employees are, and here you'll see a list of essential fundamentals for a new hire within the first 30 days. Really, you want to get to know the company culture. How does everybody interact with each other? Um, do they have a sense of humor, or is it very strict? Learn company-specific platforms, intranet systems, and complete company-specific training classes. So that's pretty standard. Every company has training courses and classes you'll have to go over. You'll want to learn those, get very familiar with them. Learn about the company's products and its clients. So what does your company do? What do they sell? What services do they offer? And who are some of their major clients? Who are some of the people that they do business with? Hold weekly one-on-ones with manager. This to me is very important. You obviously want to make sure that you have a good relationship with your manager, and no better way than to make sure that you have a one-on-one sit down with them each week to make sure that they know how you're doing. They know if you need anything. They can help you learn anything that you may be having problems with. You'll also want to meet with members of your team, people that you'll work one-on-one with, people that you'll work hand-in-hand with. You want to understand their processes, get to know the ins and outs of them so that you can better work effectively and efficiently with each other. Um, Start working on projects right away. You want to get the ball rolling. No better way than to just start working, start moving, and getting to understand the projects and the people you work with and the company all together. And then you also want to build a career development plan with specific goals, metrics, and KPIs. These would be things such as where you want to be in 30 days, where you want to be in 90 days, um, what you want to accomplish in your first 6 months. Things that are trackable, things that you can remember and you'll work towards each and every day. All right, so the implementation plan within 60 days. This 60 days is the second month of your program. This is where you're going to start taking on more responsibility. You'll have an understanding of how your job works, what it entails, who you need to talk to, and what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So, some of the things that you'll really want to focus on are going to be collaborating with other teams while starting to contribute to the conversation. This more so means that you'll need to start figuring out other teams besides your specific one that you'll work with and trying to contribute to problems or things that they're having issues with and how you guys can work together to create a solution. Um, you'll want to identify issues or pain points with the roles, develop plans to address and fix the issues. Um, Really, what this is saying is that you want to find out where the problems are and how you can fix them. Address those issues with your team, or with another team, your manager, whatever, or whoever it may be. You want to start to address and fix those issues. Um, Set up a regular meeting schedule with teams and managers going forward. This, again, couldn't be any more crucial at any organization or company. Really making sure that you sit down with your team members, your manager, anybody and everybody that you can think of, making sure that things are going smoothly, making sure that you are living up to your expectations and they are living up to their expectations. And then you also just want to give feedback, give feedback to your managers on the progress, on how you're doing, what you're having issues with. Anything that you can think of that's on the top of your head, you're supposed to be able to go to your manager and speak your mind and come up with solutions or fix problems together, and maybe even work out uh, different steps that you can take to complete some of the projects that you're working on. All right, so we've gone through the implementation plan of the 30 and 60 day mark. Now we're moving to the 90 days. So, last 30 days of the plan, this is all about independence, what you can do on your own, how far you can make it without asking for help. As the employees start to take on more responsibilities and working on bigger projects, they need to be more accountable to your work. The last month of the 90-day plan is going to include some of the following. As mentioned before, start working independently on projects, making sure that you can do your work, that you are able to do these things without asking for help. Um, Become more accountable for their work. This means that when you make a mistake, you're held accountable. You should know the things that you need to know now. If there's things that you don't know, ask. Be held accountable for your actions in the work that you do. Be proactive and become more involved in the company. If you see a project that's just starting, get started on it right away. Don't procrastinate and wait. Talk to people that you usually don't, people that aren't a part of your department. These are things that can help get you in the right place and start moving you forward in your career. And touch base with the manager for feedback about goals, metrics, and KPIs going forward. Talk to your manager, see how you're doing, see how they think you're doing. Show them your goals that you have come up with and ask them to assess you on them and really give you some feedback on how you've been doing as a crucial team member of the organization. Your implementation plan is finished. You have gone through the 30, 60, and 90-day plans on how you're going to implement each interval. Um, and really, what it comes down to is great onboarding leads to ongoing employees' engagement. Implementing a 30, 60, 90-day plan will help increase employee engagement while making sure the new employee understands their responsibilities and expectations from the first day onward. Companies with highly engaged workers have higher rates of customer satisfaction and fewer errors. This couldn't be more true. Um, Really, you want to make sure that your new hires and the training program helps build those new hires to the employee you want them to be. The more time and energy and money spent on new hires, the less you have to worry about them in the long run. So that's it. That's the implementation plan. You've gone through the 30, 60, 90-day plan and the intervals and what is expected at each interval and how you're going to implement those. So now you move on to closing the project plan. This is really how everything comes together. What happens here is managing a project is an experience you can constantly learn from. It's not something that once the project is done, it's all said and done with. No, these are things that you can learn from. You could have taken away from this project and you can use moving forward on the next project. Um, Closing the project plan, you also want to gather the core team and invite feedback, positive or negative. And you want to encourage honesty. You want to let each other know and take notes on this worked, this didn't work, and move forward with it. If it did work, let's you do it again next time. If it didn't work, what are some ways that we can improve on this next time? Um, these projects are never standalone things. They're always something that are going to constantly teach you things, constantly give you opportunities to learn. So you need to pay attention and really dive into these. And at the end, come together and figure out what you did collectively as a group very well and what you did collectively as a group not so well. Um, Knowledge is coming from all of these projects. As soon as one closes, another door opens, and it opens a whole new realm of knowledge that you need to take in for the next project. Once you have completed the project, next is completing the paperwork. Projects generate tons of documents, and these documents need to be approved for stakeholders' sake. They need to make sure that the project was completed and that everything went well. Um, every single piece of paper needs to be signed for, everything needs to be accounted for, and this includes all contracts with any outside vendors or partners that you may have used to complete this project. This also includes any outstanding payments, all invoices, commissions, fees, bonuses, everything is paid for. This way you have the cost of the project. If the cost isn't paid for, it's not done. Once everything is paid for, paperwork is signed and complete, project is complete. After you have completed the paperwork, signed all the documents, made sure everything is paid, you want to archive your documents. This allows you to go back on any previous projects that you have completed and really just look back on them and find all the knowledge that you may have lost, all the information that you may have forgot you learned, and figure out what works and what doesn't work, what did work and what didn't work moving forward. This also allows to make sure that everything is filed away and accounted for, the paperwork, everything is signed for. This allows you to go back at any point in time, find any information you need, and it's readily available for you. Lastly, and probably most important, something that Chase and I 100% agree on is celebrate success. Um, this may sound funny, this may sound extremely silly, but something that needs to happen. Your team worked hard, everybody did their part, everybody took their role. Celebrate. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be going out for a drink. It could be going out to dinner. It could be bringing coffee and donuts and bagels in for the team at the beginning of the next week for completing the project. You know, maybe giving people out bonuses who deserve them. Anything such as that celebrates the success. You obviously don't want to exclude people, but you want to make sure that everybody feels that they contributed, everybody did their fair share, and all is well. So that that concludes our presentation on the 30, 60, 90 day program that Chase is implementing at Prestwick Group. If you have any questions or concerns, by all means, please reach out to Chase or myself. Be very interested to hear what you guys have to say, what you thought. But for now, here are our resources, and that's all.